Welcome back to the courtroom, where today we're diving deep into some intense legal showdowns. Presided over by the one and only Judge Raquel West. We've got two very different cases on the docket, each with its own set of challenges, excuses, and life-altering decisions. First up, a young man who seems to be his own worst enemy. He's already on probation, but new arrests and a string of questionable choices have landed him right back in the hot seat. He's about to learn that in Judge West's courtroom, you can't talk your way out of trouble. Then we'll meet another defendant who claims he's turned over a new leaf after a history of failed probations. He's begging for one last shot at redemption. Will his promises be enough to convince the judge, or is he destined to repeat his past? The gavel is about to fall, so let's get right into the action. First, we have Mr. Jones. He's only 21, but he's already walking on thin ice. He's on probation for theft of a firearm, and things are not looking good. Let's listen in as the judge tries to get a straight answer from him. Notice his demeanor and how quickly his story starts to unravel. Pull your pants up. Just wearing a belt doesn't do it. Pull them all the way up so that I can't see your underwear sticking out the front, and nobody wants to see it sticking out the back. You understand? Right away, you can feel the tension. Judge West isn't just concerned with the legal facts. She's addressing his lack of respect for the court itself. This isn't a good start. He claims he can't work because of his current charges. But as we're about to find out, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The prosecutor has an update, and it's a game changer. He's been arrested not once, but twice more since being placed on probation. One of those arrests was just last week. What did you get arrested for? Just being with the wrong crowd at the wrong time. Sounds like you are the wrong crowd. That's a direct hit from the judge. She's not buying the wrong crowd excuse. The details of his latest arrest are alarming. He was in a car that smelled of marijuana, with more marijuana found near his seat, and a gun in the glove box. Remember, he's already on probation for stealing a firearm. Being around another weapon is a massive red flag. The judge sends him for a drug test, and while he tests positive for something he has a prescription for, the circumstances of his arrest are what really seal his fate today. Judge West lays it all out. He's on probation for a felony. He was just arrested again, and the situation involved drugs and a gun. She decides the low bond he was on is no longer in the community's best interest, and at this time, I'm raising your bond to $200,000. You can go back with the bailiff. You gotta try harder than being in a car with a gun and marijuana while you're on probation. Go with the bailiff. From a low bond to $200,000 in an instant. That's the consequence of making bad choices while the court has given you a chance. Judge West made it clear. Trying harder means staying away from guns, drugs, and criminal activity. His journey through the justice system is far from over. Now, let's turn our attention to our second defendant, Mr. Smith. He's here for sentencing on a felony charge of evading arrest with a vehicle. The stakes are high, but his story is one of attempted reform. The pre-sentence report reveals a troubling history to prior felony probations that were revoked. That's a bad track record. It means he's been given a chance to stay out of prison before and he filed twice. This makes Judge West understandably skeptical. I don't have good warm fuzzies about you being successful on another probation. But Mr. Smith pleads his case. He claims he's a changed man. That was a whole nother life ago. I've corrected my life. I've been sober for 3 years now. I've been focusing on nothing but working. If you give me a chance, I'll show you that I can do it. He's got a job as a foreman. He claims to be sober, and he's trying to convince the judge that his past is truly in the past. This is the moment of truth. Will the judge lock him up based on his history? Or will she take a leap of faith based on his word? Judge West decides to give him that one last chance, but it comes with a very heavy condition. She sentences him to 10 years in prison, but she suspends that sentence and places him on probation for 6 years. This is what's known as a deferred or suspended sentence. It's like a sword hanging over his head. He gets to go home today, but if he messes up his probation in any way, he's automatically going to prison for the full 10 years. There will be no more negotiations, no more second chances. If you violate your probation, you have a 10-year sentence hanging over your head. She also gives him a stern warning. as a convicted felon. He can never legally possess a firearm or ammunition again. The court even goes the extra mile to ensure a separate misdemeanor charge against him gets dismissed, clearing the way for him to start his probation with a clean slate. Mr. Smith walks out of the courtroom, a free man, but the weight of that 10-year sentence will follow him for the next 6 years. It's a powerful incentive to stay on the straight and narrow. We can only hope he uses this opportunity wisely, and that's a wrap on another dramatic day in court. We saw two defendants, two very different outcomes. One lost his freedom due to repeated bad choices, while the other was given a final high-stakes chance at redemption. It just goes to show that in the eyes of the law, your actions always have consequences. Let's break down everything that happened from the very beginning. First up, we had Jamarcus Ray Jones, a young defendant already tangled up in probation violations and misconduct while in lockup. He walked in facing some pretty tough odds, but instead of showing accountability, he brought attitude, contradictions, and stories that just didn't add up. Judge West pressed him on every single detail, reminding him that freedom is something you earn, not something that's just handed to you. His case really set the tone for the day. A clear warning shot. Excuses will not save you when the evidence says otherwise. Then, Mr. Smith stood before the court. He was facing charges for evading arrest, not who's done say, but multiple times, both on foot and in a vehicle. What really stood out here wasn't just the crime itself, but the pattern of behavior. His probation was already hanging by a very thin thread. This time, the judge laid out the harsh reality for him. A suspended 10-year sentence was waiting in the wings. If he could unget it together, it was a stark moment that showed just how close these defendants can come to throwing away their entire future with a single bad decision. Next, we saw the case of Carnal Beard, and with him, Mr. Seville stepped up to the record. Their situation brought even more complexity into the courtroom: substance use, probation violations, and the heavy weight of family expectations. Judge West didn't hesitate for a second to call out the contradictions and the questionable choices they were making. Every defendant in her courtroom learns one thing very quickly. She doesn't just listen to your words. She studies your behavior, your consistency, and whether you are truly ready to turn a corner. Across all of today's hearings, one truth became crystal clear. Judge Raquel West demands honesty, discipline, and accountability. If you show up with half-truths or a bad attitude, she will cut right through it in seconds. But if you come prepared to own your mistakes, she'll still leave a door open for you, though it will never be without consequences. That's exactly what makes her courtroom so compelling to watch. It's not just about sentencing. It's about character. We saw defendants who tried to flirt with the rules, bend the truth, or act like the system simply owed them another chance. And every single time, Judge West reminded them, freedom is fragile, and respect for the law is non-negotiable. So, as we wrap up this video, the lesson learned today is much bigger than any single sentence that was handed down. It is about that razor-thin line between walking out of the courtroom a free person and walking into a cell for years. These defendants showed us exactly what happens when poor choices finally catch up to you. And Judge West showed us that she will never let excuses cloud her judgment. Now, if you've made it this far, I really want to hear from you. Which moment from this courtroom session stood out to you the most? Was it the lies that completely fell apart under questioning? The desperate plea deals? Or the judge's firm reminders that second chances are never guaranteed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want more real courtroom drama like this, where judges, defendants, and the raw truth all collide, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications, because the next case we cover might just be the most shocking one yet. Until then, always remember this. In Judge Raquel West's courtroom, excuses get exposed, and only the truth stands a chance.